Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mass Retirees Weekly Update. Today is Friday, September 13th. Yes, it's Friday the 13th. I'm Sean Duhamel. Thank you so much for joining with us and tuning in again this week. Before I jump into the news of the week, which is really important this week, there's some really big things going on down in Washington, D.C. with the WEP and the GPO. But before I get to that, let me first remind our members that today in Mansfield at 11 a.m. is our annual meeting. If you are a Mass Retirees member, you are welcome to attend either our annual meeting or any of our area meetings that take place throughout the year. Attendance at our meetings is free of charge. You're welcome to bring a guest. Full details are contained in today's email message that went out to all of our members at 6 a.m. this morning. Every Friday morning at 6, an email message comes out under my name, under my email address, that is more or less a deeper dive into what we're providing in these videos, and certainly a lot more information than what we're providing on either Facebook or YouTube. So if you're not a Mass Retirees member, you're watching this video, I encourage you to visit our website, massretirees.com. Join our association. We have memberships for all public retirees, and we have associate memberships for active employees who are interested in keeping up with retirement-related news to help you better prepare for your eventual retirement. So that takes place today, and if you're available, come on by. I'm going to be talking about WEP and GPO at the meeting, along with healthcare and the COLA and all of the other various things that we're involved in here at our association. So it would be great to see you in person. So make sure you come up and say hello. But most importantly, WEP and GPO. There is a major movement afoot right now in Washington, D.C. to force a vote on H.R. 82, which of course is the legislation, the federal legislation pending before Congress that would fully repeal both the WEP and the GPO. Now, as you hopefully have read in our October newsletter, which was mailed to all of our members about a week ago, H.R. 82 and its companion bill, S597, that's over in the U.S. Senate, have reached a supermajority of support. What I mean by supermajority is that it's veto-proof. And in the case of the Senate, supermajority is the threshold required to avoid a filibuster and to get by the Senate rule that requires a 60-vote threshold to act on any legislation relative to Social Security. So a legislation either repealing or reforming WEP and GPO in the U.S. Senate needs at least 60 votes. Well, we're there. We have 61 votes in the Senate, including the lead sponsor, Senator Sherrod Brown from Ohio. And in the House of Representatives, I believe the current count is 328 co-sponsors of H.R. 82, which is far more than the 218 votes that are needed to pass a bill through the House of Representatives. However, despite this overwhelming support, neither of these bills, nor the various bills that have been filed to reform the WEP or GPO, have moved beyond the committee level. The congressional process continues to grind forward, really with no relief in sight for public retirees. So a process has gotten underway. It started back in August, led by Congressman Garrett Graves from Louisiana and Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger from Virginia. They are the Republican and Democrat co-sponsors of H.R. 82. They have begun what is known as a discharge petition that would force H.R. 82 from the Ways and Means Committee to be brought to the floor of the House for a vote, a straight up or down, yes or no vote on fully repealing WEP and GPO. Now, in order for the discharge petition to be successful, they need 218 co-sponsors for the discharge petition, and that's a simple majority of the 435 members of the House of Representatives. Now, technically, right now, the House is 4 members short. There are 4 vacancies, so there are 431 members of Congress in total. That is, I believe, 220 Republicans and 211 Democrats. The Republican Party is the majority party in the House. They control the agenda and the flow of legislation and so forth within the House of Representatives. In the U.S. Senate, however, it is the Democratic Party that has the majority by a very narrow margin as well. they control the flow of legislation in the Senate. So you have the Republicans on one side, the Democrats on the other. So far, the Republican majority in the House, despite the fact that Speaker Mike Johnson from Louisiana is a co-sponsor of H.R. 82, since he has assumed the speakership a few months ago, he has been unwilling, at least up until to now, to move forward with that legislation. And it is primarily, at least our belief is based on the cost associated with full repeal. Now, it's probably no coincidence, but just a few days ago on Monday, the Congressional Budget Office released an updated cost estimate for H.R. 82. The cost of fully repealing weapon GPO over the next 10 years comes out to about $195 billion over the next 10 years. That cost, as of right now, the way that Social Security is structured, would be paid directly out of the Social Security retirement system. The money to fund Social Security comes exclusively from the system. It's paid for through federal payroll taxes, the so-called FICA tax. It does not come from the general federal fund. It comes directly out of Social Security. So the cost of passing this bill, or really any bill, particularly related to Social Security with its dedicated revenue stream, is a major concern. And that is most likely one of the reasons, and we know that the cost and the inability of the Democrats and Republicans to agree on a solution to pay for these costs has been a big obstacle, whether it be for full repeal or certainly for the various reform bills that our association has been directly involved in trying to negotiate and get across the finish line over the past several congressional sessions. So we believe the time has come for Congress to act. Enough time's gone by. There have been a variety of public hearings over the years. During the current congressional session, we've had 3 hearings on these issues, 2 by the House, 1 by the U.S. Senate. So the time is now to act. And whether it be full repeal or something else, Congress has to vote. Our association is urging our members to contact your local member of Congress, ask them to please sign on to the discharge petition to bring H.R. 82 to the floor of the House of Representatives for a vote. Now, of the 172 current co-sponsors, and that is the tally as of the recording of this video, which is Thursday evening on the 12th. We have 172 House co-sponsors of the bill. Senators cannot sign on to a discharge petition in the House, so do not bother contacting Elizabeth Warren or Ed Markey or the senator in the state that you may happen to live in. This is strictly a House of Representatives petition. The Senate has no control or no say over it. Now, of the 9 members of the Massachusetts congressional delegation, as of today, 6 of them have signed on to the discharge petition. Jake Auchincloss, Ayanna Pressley, Bill Keating, Stephen Lynch, Jim McGovern, and Lori Trahan. 3 members of our delegation remain to sign on. We are very hopeful that Katherine Clark, Richie Neal, and Seth Moulton all sign on to the bill when Congress comes back into formal session next week. Our association has contacted their offices and will continue to do so, asking them to support the petition to bring the bill to the House floor. Now, there are 8 weeks left on the House calendar for formal sessions during 2024 before the new Congress comes in January. So time is short, and those 8 weeks are formal session weeks. Once 218 co-sponsors are reached on the discharge petition, if they're reached, that would then force the bill to come to the floor within a week or so of hitting that threshold, pending that Congress is still in session. So time is really of the essence. The hope here is to achieve the 218 co-sponsors over the next week or so, certainly before the end of September, before that congressional recess, because they won't be returning until after the election in November at that point. Now, I need to point out that all of this does not come without some risk. First of all, discharge petitions are very rare, and it's even rarer that they succeed. Right now, including this new discharge petition on weapon GPO, there are 16 discharge petitions pending before the House. None of them have reached the 218 vote co-sponsor threshold to force a vote. However, earlier this year, in March, a discharge petition did achieve the 218 votes, which brought it to the floor of the House, and it did end up passing. That discharge petition was focused on allowing victims of natural disasters to have some type of tax relief. And we don't know all of the details of that, but it had majority support in the House to be able to bring it to the floor over the objections of the Republican leadership in the House, and got that done. But that discharge petition that passed in March of 2024, that was the first successful discharge petition since 2015. So it's been quite a while, 9 years as a matter of fact, since any discharge petitions were successful. So it is a Hail Mary, but it's a Hail Mary worth throwing because we've been really left at this point in time with no other option to force congressional action during the current session, rather than starting from scratch again in the new congressional year. And we don't know who the president may or may not be, which party will control each branch of Congress. Those are all unknowns. What we do know is that our members are suffering. It's been 41 years since these laws were created, and it is due time for action rather than continued talk. Now, there are other risks involved with this as well. As I said earlier, the way the discharge petition is structured, it brings the bill to the floor, and it does not allow any amendments to the bill. No changes can be made to the bill. So Congress will have the ability for a straight up or down, yes or no vote on the bill as it is currently structured. That in and of itself is very rare. Typically, whether it is a bill filed at the federal level before Congress, or certainly anything here in Massachusetts that Mass Retirees is working on, or just legislation in general, most bills are amended through the process. It is very, very rare that any piece of legislation will be filed and passed in the exact same form. Things are typically amended and compromises are made, and it's a process that you're going through. Well, that process is not allowed through this discharge petition. So we don't know for certain if, at the end of the day, when push comes to shove, if majority support will exist in the House, particularly if the House leadership is opposed to the bill as it now stands. We're also anticipating some pushback and open opposition from some of the conservative fiscal groups that have opposed this issue in the past, along with some of the business organizations that may be reluctant to spend nearly $200 billion on relief for public retirees. Now, all of that's neither here nor there. As we have said all along, our members are suffering. These laws are inherently unfair, they're unjust, they're not right, and they must change. This is our opportunity to force a vote on this issue, to bring it forward, and continue to do everything possible, working with our national partners to try to finally bring some relief to our collective members. Now, before closing, I want to give recognition and say thank you to those retirees. Many of our own members have participated and continue to participate in some of the online groups that have come together through social media that have been extremely effective in bringing this issue forward and keeping the pressure on Congress from a grassroots level, and it's really made all the difference in the world. The tens of thousands of retirees across the country who are involved in these different organizations have really made it impossible for Congress to continue to ignore these issues. So whether it's traditional organizations like Mass Retirees and the Texas Retired Teachers, and the firefighters and the teachers and the other unions out there that for years have been coming together around these issues trying to affect change, or the more recently formed organizations through Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and the other online platforms that exist, collectively we've brought these issues to this point, and I sincerely hope that we are successful. Contained in today's email message from us is a link for you to find the contact information for your member of Congress. We advise that you either call or email the Washington, D.C. office of your member of Congress It really does not do any good for you to contact a member who's in another part of the country or does not directly represent you. What's most important is that your local member of Congress hear from you in your own voice. And it's simply asking them to sign on to the discharge petition, and if and when these issues are brought to the floor of the House, that they vote yes when that day comes. Thank you so much for tuning in again. If you're available and you're a member of our association, come on down to Mansfield, say hello, come up and say hi to me in person. It'd be wonderful to see you in person today. But with that, thank you so much, and we'll be back to you again next week. Bye-bye, everybody.